You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent Austen Show.
Well, welcome in on cut day. Jacksonville Jaguars trying to get down to 53, and they start trickling in by all reports now this morning. After the Jags made some moves yesterday, they surprised us all with the Travis Gibson move as we started the show about 24 hours ago, and quite frankly, they surprised us again with a move this morning. And I don't know the impact of this move. I think it just shows you that the Jags were as coy could be. That word is the word that keeps coming to mind this camp. Mm-hmm. Christian Braswell listed as number one on their nickel depth chart. And listen, they said the depth chart didn't matter. That's up to us if we want to believe it or not. But Ryan Nielsen said he hasn't done a depth chart, by the way, since 2017. So he doesn't believe in it. The league makes you do something. Doug joked with us one time, if I could put Trevor at tight end, I'd put him at tight end.
Yeah.
We knew it wasn't much, but that being said, I thought Christian Braswell got our attention quite a bit. So forget about the depth chart thing. We all knew he wasn't the number one nickel, I think. But his play dictated that he had really made some vast improvements and looked pretty good. And he was a guy, speaking of development, that they had drafted. And now they cut him here this morning. No official word yet on that, but I would assume they'll try to get him back to the practice squad, Austin.
No, I mean, you would think so, right? I mean, I think they do hold him in pretty high regard, not high enough to keep him on the roster in a room that I think in terms of safety and cornerback, which is pretty deep, and has some veteran experience that you paid for. So I could definitely see him coming back in some kind of practice squad capacity, but yeah, I mean, I never bought into the depth chart that much, even when he was listed as the starter. I mean, they had players that were hurt that weren't going to play the entire season, it seemed like, on that depth chart. So I didn't put much stake into it, and it's a guy, like you said, Brent, he's played pretty well, but you're just a victim sometimes of what the roster looks like.
Yeah, and we've got some comments in the last hour once that hit. Nick says, now that's surprising. I would agree. Mikey says, must be keeping Prince then. I think they were anyway. I thought they were going to, and I didn't think Christian Braswell was going to be a victim of that. And he says, what are we doing? Now, that's a little over the top. I'm not going to lose my mind about Christian Braswell, quite frankly. I do think he was a little bit of a training camp story, and that that maybe wouldn't translate into the regular season. The way the Jags are structured, I'm not sure how much he would impact. Now, I thought a guy like Jarian Jones was not that high on their list of, hey, we got to get him right in and play. The way he was playing in the preseason, kind of like we talked about Roy Robertson Harris. So there's really no rhyme or reason. These normal tendencies where you'd say, hey, why is this guy still playing late in the third quarter or early in the fourth? He must be a little bit further down. I'll give Jags credit here. I think they mixed that up. I think that they spun that on their heads a little bit. I think Jarian Jones might be, one of those next guys in. Not necessarily as far down the depth chart as I thought he might be based on a move like this. Prince is a guy they obviously have some hope in, thought maybe he couldn't get through waivers. Again, that's a big part of this. You've got to be able to clear through waivers, so it's a little bit of a game, and you don't want to see a draft pick go. Now, Braswell is a draft pick, but you especially don't want to see this year's draft pick go in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see how they shake out in the secondary, and that's been a key part for us, right? We said there was a lot of talent, or at least a lot of competition there. Guys like Buster Brown who have played before. Heck, I thought they had an injury settlement with Gregory Jr. I think there were some things they liked about him last year and going into this year, and he's not even a part of this. The injury played a role, but I think we're seeing that the depth that we thought they had probably showing up a little bit, and they've got some tougher decisions maybe than some thought in that back end.
Are you more surprised by Braswell or surprised that they traded away Gibson yesterday?
Gibson.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, okay, so if you keep 6 corners, like what? You got Tyson, Campbell, Darby, Savage, Jarian Jones. They probably keep Prince. And then Buster Brown? Or what was the other guy? Or they keep 5? Because usually you keep 6, I believe. 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So then who do you think outplayed Christian Braswell? Are we going Buster Brown?
I actually think the move potentially, and Gary Smithers asked me, does this guy have any credibility, which makes me start to wonder now, okay, maybe people are questioning inside or around the beat that if Kaplan's even got this one right, which again, these are reports. I mean, we definitely should say that. But I would say if Braswell is a guy that were to get cut, then it's a guy like Prince that they would – that's probably you're not cutting Jerry and Jones.
No, right? Without a doubt. But I'm saying, do you think – but I mean, I think Prince is going to be there regardless. But then do they keep Buster Brown as well? Or
I think Buster Brown.
Okay, so that's probably the guy then that's going to make that last cut. Make that last spot, I'm sorry.
Yeah. One other thing that's noteworthy, I think, here, Austin, is we said this yesterday about Travis Gibson. What else could be the corresponding move of, let's just say, another team that cuts a corner that might fit your style? Like, who does Ryan Nielsen have his eyes on that could become available that might be an upgrade of what you already have on your roster? So I think that's one deal here that we've got to, Gary actually just reminded me of this. We've got to make sure these are just reports. The Jags haven't confirmed that. They won't confirm until later today. You have until 4 o'clock. But the other side of it is these moves don't mean it's done. Like, you can make the roster today at 4 o'clock and not be on it by Friday.
Yeah, of course.
It's
rarer, but that can happen.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I think I always say Labor Day is a weekend where you see more activity because it is that down, right? It's that one last hurrah before you get into the game week, the regular season.
Gotcha.
Now there's one last hurrah really in the trade deadline and stuff like that. But I think there's still a flurry of activity because everybody's going to digest who's been cut over the next few days. These front offices are going to be like, oh, why did that guy get let go? From kickers to corners to everybody else. So, if this is one of them.
Oh man, if we just got swindled to start our show off,
listen, there's a bunch of different people reporting, from the Aaron Wilsons to the Schefters to the Pelisseros.
Oh, but if they all confirmed it, then yeah, it's.
Well, no, I'm saying different guys, like Trey Flowers is a guy that's been, allegedly told he's done. I think the report from Pelissero, I think it was Edmonds has been cut, but they want to get him back to the practice squad.
Gotcha.
No different than what we kind of anticipated that would be. Even though he's played very well, I think he is a true box safety, which makes him probably a little bit expendable. But he played well enough to be on their practice squad in case they need a guy that they could bring up against a run-heavy team or something like that. So we'll see how it shakes out. But again, if Braswell is gone, I think that is a bit of a surprise, but I think Tevin Gibson is still the surprise move so far.
And then Ian Rappaport, would we believe in him?
Yeah, why has he got it too?
Well, no, he's got Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought that's kind of surprising to me a little bit, but
yeah. I think that's who I just brought up, Edmonds with.
Yeah.
I think I'm not surprised by Edmonds. I know he played very well, but don't you look at him and the versatility they want on the safety corners, that Darnell Savage, Antonio Johnson type. Like, he's not that. He's a true box guy.
He's not versatile, but I look at, I think Ryan Nielsen takes pride in the press. He takes pride in the physicality, and I thought, more than anybody in this preseason, I thought Terrell Edmonds showed great physicality. Yeah. And I think that's, in terms of, once again, he's not a cornerback, but in the terms of safety position, that could be a guy that you would want.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when guys, this is the time of year you're supposed to make a name for yourself, right? You're supposed to make a splash. And when guys do that, and then they're not on the team, it's like, wait a minute, isn't this kind of the mission?
Yeah.
And the mission is to do what maybe a Braswell did or a Edmonds did. And Edmonds been around this thing a long time now, but, he really played well, right? So it's just interesting that when those things happen and they don't still make the team, it's kind of like, oh. But I think it also could show that, first of all, stylistically, it's one thing. Does it fit the way you want it to fit? Two, the Jags, I think, really tried to beef up their roster in this training camp to add competition. I think that's kind of why even a guy like Tayshaun Gibson came in to see if he could give a little bit of that. Like, I'm not sure where he's going to settle. I don't know if he's even on this thing. He might be let go today. Which then was like, okay, well, he had a red jersey on most of practice. Like, what was the point of the Tayshaun Gibson thing? If he gets cut today. Now, it could be, he's obviously a spent. Now, he's got different roster maneuverability, I think, because of the suspension.
Correct. Yeah, you don't have to worry about him till week 5, right?
Yeah, and I forget, there are some interesting rules around that whole suspension stuff. And you really have like a 9-week span. where you can kind of start to bring the player back, but you don't have to make a move for a couple more weeks even after the suspension. So there's a lot there and a lot of flexibility for the Jaguars still. So we're going to find out later today. And Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson scheduled to talk today about the roster. You know what they're going to say. Here's I already know what they're going to say.
It was the hardest cut we ever had to make.
Of course, yeah. Do you think that is? Do you think the Jags are as deep as they've been, at least in the last 3 or 4 years?
Sure. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think since, the record would indicate that, I mean, this past decade hasn't been a lot of winning per se. And I think last year, even though you underachieved, you had some pretty good guys on the roster and you brought a lot of guys in now. So, yeah, I mean, I think realistically this could have been the hardest cut period for Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke.
Yeah, and I will give them credit for that. I think that's what they've been trying to build up. Now, you should. I mean, you've had draft picks and draft picks and draft picks and draft picks. You spent a lot of money. Like, you should be able to beef up the roster, especially if you're working on development. So later today, we're going to hear tough cut, obviously. Deeper than we've ever been. You're going to hear development a lot. And again, I don't, this isn't me like dismissing that. I'm just telling you that's what you're going to hear. And the one thing I give the Jags a lot of credit to, they identified this. They've spoken about this since January, and they've kind of preached it. We said a little bit yesterday with the Travis Gibson move. Are they going to go over the top on it? See, sometimes organizations do this. The history of this league, the history of this franchise, you can go back and be like, okay, we're going to correction mode. And when you correct, you like go over the top with the correction stuff.
Okay.
And so that's my one concern coming off the Gibson thing yesterday was, all right, I know Miles Cole's showing you stuff, but are you just like hoping and praying that he's showing you stuff because you drafted him and you said development? Or is he really showing you stuff? Like, are your eyes seeing what they want to see?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing as well, is that you have a roster right now that, and there's a lot of new guys on this roster, but last year, like, you didn't achieve expectations. Like, I feel like it's always smart to go with the youth, to go in a younger direction when you're already established as a year in, year out a playoff team. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are not that yet.
Yeah, they're not. I look at this roster and I'm wondering, is it a better roster than 22 when they made the playoffs? I would say yes.
On paper. Yes.
It's really like
on paper, absolutely.
The key cog there was Zay Jones coming. He had a career year. That's not here anymore, is what I'm talking about. Even that year, you had Fortner, you got Mitch Morse. You obviously have older players now. And then you add like the Armsteads of the world and whatever. I mean, the bottom line is, since that team, only Anton Harrison, Armstead, now Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, on paper, they're still a little unproven, but definitely on paper, yes.
Yeah, I would say so too. I'm going to look this up, but I saw this. I shared this tweet with you. The Bucks, they're beat guys.
Okay.
They were doing their 53-man roster. I guess it came out last night.
Okay.
And some of their beat guys, I'll read you a couple tweets. It says, Bucks have already reached a 53-man player limit. 22 of the 23 players they've drafted over the past 3 years are on the team. 26 of 30 selected over the last 4 years made it. All starters except Baker Mayfield and Ben Bredesen. Greg Allman then says, this is wild. 44 of the Bucks' 53 players were either drafted by Tampa or started there as an undrafted rookie. Only ones from outside: Mayfield, Bredesen, Skule, Walton, Gaines, Brown, Hall, Thomas McLaughlin. That's a kicker, by the way, Chase McLaughlin. So that seems like a high number. 44 out of 53, homegrown.
It's very impressive.
Impressive, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, how important is that?
It's everything. I mean, we had this conversation how many times? Like, any successful franchise that has a great culture that wins year in and year out, you build through the draft. And then every once in a while, you can sprinkle on a free agent here or there, but you build through the draft. Look at every single... I mean, the only franchise that hasn't done it, that's kind of pivoted and had success, is the Rams.
And now they're kind of going back.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't think it's sustainable. You can't sustain it for a decade. I think you can sustain that type of thinking for 4 or 5 years, hopefully get a Super Bowl out of it, but you can't sustain that year in and year out, I believe.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and, once the roster is made for the Jags, we'll figure out that number. Like, I don't know what it looks like. My guess with all the draft picks of the last 4 years, you're going to have a lot, but they've also spent a lot of money in free agency. Mm-hmm. So the Bucs haven't spent nearly that kind of money in free agency. Now they went and got Baker Mayfield. They paid him since. But even those names that I mentioned, I mean, those aren't huge names. No. Those are, you got to even look them up to know their position kind of names. So,
but lo and behold, they went to the playoffs last year.
And they did. And you're right. So, and that's where the Jags are trying to get to now. They've known that. They've said that. Shad Khan said it this summer. He said, listen, we can't keep paying money in free agency. This isn't how it's going to get done. Mm-hmm. But I think it's fascinating. You know what else I thought of it, Austin, in this context is, that's a high number. My guess, that's a very high number, 44 out of 53. But what a different dynamic in the NFL, or the NFL, or even professional sports, but let's just say the NFL here, that's going, hey, we got to get homegrown, we got to draft and develop, instead of going to pay money and going to get free agents and all the rest. Like, there's a big belief of that. The college game has totally flipped. The college game has said, hey, we don't want you any more freshmen. We're not going to wait around and develop you. We're going to just go get everybody else's players.
Yeah.
They turned like 80%. Well, it's probably not 80%, but they feel like they've turned over 50% free agency.
Yeah.
What a wild thing. Like, who would have saw that coming?
Well,
years ago.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you would have predicted it years ago, but that's just the state where we're in now. It's, kind of like the one and done, or the 2 years and done.
Yeah. So, and there's a couple options for that, right? A couple of reasons for that. The old school way of doing it in college was, hey, you invested a scholarship in them, you grow them, you develop them, you keep them in your system, all those things. That made sense. The NFL reason now is it's just expensive.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dang expensive. And all those other things that you used to account for in college, like keeping them in your system, the continuity, hey, you get comfortable here, all these little nuanced things. That's the reason for it. That's the important part of it to, again, sustain winning. It will be interesting to see when I'm kind of fascinated by that number now. That number was alarming to me for the Bucs, and the Bucs aren't the cream of the crop, by the way. Like, no, it's not like they're the Ravens.
Do we know? Like, is that drastically high for successful?
High. 26 out of 30 over the last 4 years have made the team. I think it was
of their draft picks.
Yeah, 22 out of 23 starters.
Yeah, but do we not? I have to go through like year by year. Like, how many
26 out of 30 starters.
Yeah, well, I don't know, like, how many late round picks did they have? How many? Because, like, obviously that makes a giant difference.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, right? And that's one thing about the Jags. Jags had like the 13 draft picks that year. Well, there's no way in hell you're not going to have 13.
Yeah.
They actually I think they still only have 10 or 11 from that draft coming into this camp, because that was way too many picks.
Correct.
In reality, that was way too many picks. So anyway, Braswell's the big name this morning that's being reported. There are other ones, like we said, Trey Flowers, Edmonds, who had a nice camp. Now, again, 16 guys on the practice squad. So there's a lot that will be able to get back to the practice squad if cleared waivers. We'll see how many people want to pick up some of the Jags players. That will also be an indication of how deep their room might have been. But you already have Travis Gibson, Seattle calling for him, and they're like, okay, we'll trade him away before the guy even plays a game.
Yeah.
Which is still wild to me. I'm not going to get stuck on that, by the way. I'm okay with it. I just hope they're right about it. I just think it's an oddity to bring a guy in, keep him in, and trade him away before he actually plays a real game for you.
So I kind of reshared the tweet this morning and got a lot of comments from people about, and I think so far that's the biggest one. Like, you can say Edmonds could be a little surprising. You can say Braswell's a little surprising. But, like, to me right now, Gibson is the biggest surprise. In the comments, I think it shows how committed they are to the draft and develop strategy. I don't think it moves the needle much, good or bad this season, but I think it's a good strategy for the long term. I didn't lose any sleep over it. A little dumb in my opinion was the only proven edge backup. Trading him for a late pick when we are trying to be playoff contenders doesn't make much sense. Now you're stuck with hoping and praying that Walker and Hines Allen stay healthy. I haven't given it much thought. I'm likely not to. Surprised at first. Now I'm mad at the second. Then finally trying to trust the process. They liked what the younger guys showed in camp and their potential. Rather keep him plus a pick with a veteran who they signed before the draft and before they knew what they had. I think you hold on to your stock until a better deal comes along or when something forces you to strategically alter your outlook. There's some other ones as well, but
yeah. Oh, that's good. I got a lot of comments on that.
Oh,
pretty interesting. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to assume, to go back to the Travis thing, that a lot of this is talk. If Seattle's interesting, they were a little bit more desperate for a pass rusher and had the opportunity to play more there, which is the way Doug made it seem that he was going to play a little bit more there. And the Jags weren't over the moon. If the Jags absolutely thought he was like a 5'6" guy piece and so much better than what they had, they wouldn't have traded him. Wouldn't have traded him for a 25 late round draft pick.
Yeah.
This isn't like just wheeling and dealing and, hey, we got something for him. I don't think that's the case. I think he was good, but he wasn't great and that much greater than what they had. I mean, that's got to be the end of the story there.
I mean, yeah, I would hope so.
I hope so, at least.
Yeah, but then, just from what we've seen, though, do you feel more comfortable with him in terms of a depth role or having, one of the younger guys going?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I'd be more confident with Gibson, no doubt.
Of course,
there's no doubt.
But then what are you doing?
But I've acknowledged it. I thought DJ Coleman was really playing well, but also Christian Braswell was playing well.
Yeah.
So I think the Jags, even with Travis Gibson, have a giant question mark after those top three guys. And by the way, that's not abnormal. I mean, Jags have three guys that are really good players, we think, and Josh Hines, Allen, Armstead, and Trey.
Yeah, but once again, I'm not
I know you're not.
Maybe I'm alone here. I don't know how good Armstead's going to be at the edge.
Yeah, you're not alone. You might not be alone. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to go with that guy. If they're going to list him and tell me that there's their third guy, at least in their conversation, and this indicates that he is a move like this. I mean, the guy's a very good football player.
He's a great football player. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But how great? I think he's a great defensive tackle. Yeah. I'm not sure how great of an edge guy. I mean, may have to go back and watch the film where he played edge, but I always remember him seeing lined up in the middle.
Yeah. So I mean,
but does that make you nervous? No.
Well, his resume doesn't make me nervous, but I don't break it down like that. I think he's, I think he's a little Calais light in that sense, and so he can move around. I don't think he's going to produce like Calais did, but I don't think they're asking him to produce like Calais did either. So, yeah, I'm not nervous on Armstead.
Okay.
The only thing about the Armstead stuff is I do wonder how much they're going to play him out of the gates. But let's be honest, guys. If they were to lose Josh Hines Allen or Trayvon, I mean, it's a huge blow, regardless of who's on the roster. Huge.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, and we'll see if they eventually make another move. I think in my mind they're saying, "Hey, if we had to go make a move somewhere, we got a couple of options. We're just not going to do it yet until we get desperate. Then we could." By November or the trade deadline, whatever else. They must have something in their mind. I can't imagine they built this roster to compete right now, as somebody did say, and leave a hole that would be that enormous if somebody went down for a few games.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hope when this period's all said and done, the cuts have been made, the waiver wire has been completed, I hope that there was a plan in place. Because if we're talking about that we're going to carry the guys that we have right now with the younger talent and hopefully you develop them, and then Eric Armstead, who we hope is 100% healthy, but we haven't even seen him in a game yet, I hope there's a plan.
Yeah, well, listen, it's negligent if you don't have a plan in this job, in that role. Brian says, we don't know if Eric will stay healthy, makes you nervous. It's okay to make you nervous, but the bottom line is they brought him over because they feel like he's still got something left in the tank and he'll get healthy. They've really taken care of him this offseason to make sure he is healthy. So, I mean, we could be nervous about a lot of guys if they go down. I understand at 30 years old and the injury history most recently of Armstead why you would say that, but I'll give this regime credit. They don't lose sleep over potential injuries or the possible injuries, but they do have to get him healthy. And I wonder about his snap count. If Armstead is even in shape at the time, I don't know if he will be in game shape right away. I think I know Austin's been hitting that panic button. On the Armstead thing, I don't think he should hit the panic button, but I think he has to slow play, or we have to slow play the Armstead expectations. I think that's fair because I don't think he's going to. Their hope is really he's a second half of the year. They want to save him for the second half of the year if all goes well. They will manage his reps from everything I can gather for this first month especially, but maybe even into that second month to make sure he's good to go and ready to go and fully like hitting a new level in that second half. So we'll see if they're able to do that now. Easier said than done, but they're going to have to do it with some young guys.
Do you want some Armstead numbers about being outside compared to inside? Now, keep in mind, this is...
You wouldn't be giving them to me if you weren't right.
Yeah, we're good then.
Go ahead.
No, we're good, man.
No, he'll give me some questions for the bosses tonight.
We're all good, man. No worries. I don't like being right all the time, so we're good.
What is it? Give it to us.
No, man. I'm serious. We're good. We're all good, man.
The chat now wants to know.
Oh, the chat wants to know now?
Yes.
Okay. So 2023, it's kind of an anomaly because he was injured.
Yeah, he was.
You know what I'm saying? So back in 2022, in the first 5 games, Eric Armstead lined up on the outside playing defensive end. He averaged 2 tackles per game and recorded 1 sack. In his final 12 games of the regular season, Armstead averaged 4.4 tackles per game and recorded 5 sacks, plus 6 tackles for loss and 9 QB hits by playing on the inside.
That was in
2022.
You know, he hasn't been a huge sack guy in his career to begin with. And part of it,
correct,
because maybe that even speaks more to the edge side. I mean, he's got 33 career sacks.
Yeah.
At 30 years old. I mean, heck of a player, like you said, but it's not like this crazy sack total. What's his career high, does it say?
No, this is an article written by Dalton Johnson. He's a beat reporter out of San Fran, titled, Was Armstead's move biggest turnaround for the 49ers defense moving on the inside? Take it for how you want.
Listen, I mean...
Well, no, I mean, the numbers just said his biggest turnaround was... You don't think those numbers are better?
Inside, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not sitting here trying to defend Armstead. I didn't acquire him to move it. I'm just telling you what I think they're going to do. They're going to move him in and out.
And I'm sitting here...
I've been told that he's like their third guy.
And I'm sitting here and saying I hope there's a plan in place because I'm not the most confident with Eric Armstead playing defense. Like, that's just my opinion. Like, I'm not confident with Armstead and then Trayvon Walker and then Josh Allen on the outside. Like, I hope there's another plan in place for depth purposes.
Yeah. I think overall right now this might be the biggest critique point of what they've built on this football team is they hope a move like that is correct and their depth or these young guys that they think can play there is correct. Because there's a lot of different answers they have in the secondary if somebody doesn't work out. Now, Tyson Campbell really has to work out. You just paid him. But there's a lot of different answers on offense if somebody doesn't work out. Yeah. There's not a lot of different answers on the pass rush. I think there's a lot of different answers on the interior of the D-line, quite frankly, that you can go to.
It's
or
a possibility,
you know what I mean? But there's a lot of unproven, or even in this case, best use that they're banking on, it sounds like, in this defense for him to deliver and others to deliver outside of Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines out. And remember, that's one of the biggest things about this year. I don't think you can't just count on those two guys to say have 65% of the sacks or whatever it was. It was 27.5 out of 40 sacks last year was just those two guys. We know they have to come from different areas, whether that's a little bit Devin Lloyd, a little bit Foye Lukin, a little bit Roy Robertson Harris, a little bit Mason Smith, a little bit Devon Hamilton, a little bit Armstead. Like, we can also go to that Kansas City route where you get big numbers from a guy or two, and then everybody else just chips in 3-4 sacks, and sooner or later that adds up.
Yeah, but Armstead was brought. I mean, we need Armstead to produce. Like, that's why he was brought here for. Now, maybe you got him at a little bit of a discount out of San Fran. Maybe there's some kind of relationship there with Trent Baalke and Armstead from the past. And yeah, you didn't pay top dollar for him, but like, to me, Eric Armstead was brought here to be Calais Campbell light, and they need him to be that, or else who knows what this defense is going to look like.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll give you this over-under when we come back. Let's get to a break here and see what Armstead's number would be, a pleasing number from a pass rush standpoint, sack-wise, for everybody. And a lot of other things to get to. You know, one thing we didn't talk about yesterday I thought was an interesting story coming out of the weekend is Deion Sanders.
Which one? Yeah, there's a couple of stories.
There's actually, you know what's it? You know, it's funny you say that. Is because I don't. Here's what I put in the email. I think I said it this way: Is Deion cool or combative? And I think he's a little bit of both at times. But which one do you lean with? Because there's actually an indication of both over the last few days, and I'll share that with you a little bit later on. So we get to that. Obviously, a lot of football stuff. We're keeping our eye on the roster cuts and some of the reports going on. Christian Braswell looks to be the biggest name so far. Edmonds, Flowers, other guys like that. There are more to come. Jags have to get down to 53 by 4 o'clock today. Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you. And you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one-card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One-card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Oh, man, it is that time. I love being outside, but it is just so hot. Oh, my gosh, I cannot be outside. Well, you know, it doesn't have to be. As a matter of fact, I've got the perfect solution for you to be able to stay outdoors and not look like this guy.
GW Outdoor Solutions has the solution that will help you create areas of shade with their automated retractable awning. As the summer months inch closer, the high temperatures will be right there too. With GW Outdoor Solutions, go from scorching to cooling in no time with one simple push of a button. These innovative shade solutions not only provide protection from the sun and rain, but also add style and functionality to your home. Let GW Outdoor Solutions transform your backyard into paradise. Check out gwoutdoorliving.com for your free estimate.
Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%. You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I feel like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer. You can schedule a test drive at NimnichtBuickGMC.com, and while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnicht is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnicht. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
It's hard to put a price on comfort, especially when you use that comfort on a daily basis. But if we're going to put a price on it, how does the lowest price guaranteed sound? Furniture Source is going to have the biggest brands, whether it's Ashley, Casper, or Tempur-Pedic, and once again, it's going to be the guaranteed lowest price in Jacksonville. Right now, my friends at Furniture Source are going to give you the ultimate hookup because all month long, they're making their inventory wholesale price. Check out their markdowns up to 50% off. And remember, since it's Furniture Source, you're getting the guaranteed lowest prices in Florida or your money back. Don't have the cash on you right now? It's no worry. Shop endless options to suit your style and budget and enjoy 36 months off with no interest financing. Why use your money when you can use theirs? Whether it's beds, couches, tables, or chairs, Furniture Source is going to have exactly what you're looking for. Shop the lowest prices in Jacksonville guaranteed. Find the location nearest you at FurnitureSourceJacks.com.
It's a new logo, new branding with Bold City Heating and Air. It's an old school approach. One of the few locally owned and operated air conditioning businesses left in Jacksonville. It's hot, Florida in the summer. You can't do much to avoid it, but you can keep cool with Bolt City Heating and Air. It's every customer counts kind of service, from when these trucks have pulled up to my home over the last couple of years and when they pull into your driveway as well. From communication to pricing to the actual service, everyone at Bolt City Heating and Air cares about you. You know who is coming to your house. You know they will be well trained. And they will respect your home. Air conditioning convenience at BoldCityAC.com. Stay cool while it gets hot. Bold City Heating and Air can help. Don't get caught sweating all summer. BoldCityAC.com. And they have financing to help. New systems starting at $110 a month and $50 off any repairs. Stay safe, stay comfortable with Bold City Heating and Air at BoldCityAC.com. Homegrown in your hometown.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
And welcome you back inside the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network studios. Brent Martineau along with Austin Lane and Bleak Bills here today on a Tuesday. Jason Hamby out. He'll be back at it tomorrow. We will be on the road later in the week, by the way. Best Bet St. Augustine. You might be on the road quite a bit.
I will.
I was thinking of this, and maybe we'll do this when you do join us from the road as you train for your next fight. I'm going to create a movie script for you over the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Few weeks.
How so? What do you mean a movie
It's
script?
going to be based in Vegas.
Okay.
It's not going to be The Hangover or anything like that type thing. But
okay.
Yeah.
So a movie script in terms of fighting or what you think is going to happen? What do you mean you're creating a movie script?
Hey, yeah, I'm still working on it.
Based on
You'll be surprised.
I'm already surprised by
twists
this.
all over the place.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm any good at this, but I might.
Have you wrote a script before?
No.
Oh wow. Well, good luck to you then,
not
sir.
to the movie script. No.
Is it like an Ocean's 11 type?
Yeah. Not real. No. He won't be arrested.
Oh, they don't get arrested. I mean, they get looked at a little bit, but.
That's assuming that you are more sly and as good as the Ocean 11 crew. You would get arrested if you tried it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, for sure. I can't do it, but it took 11 of them. I can't do it by myself.
That's a good point.
Come on, man.
Get 11.
I don't have those types of resources.
What's crazy about Ocean 11, is the trust factor there. There's too many people to trust. You got to keep a smaller circle.
That's a good point.
It's
a good point.
By the way, I forgot to mention this yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I saw The Beekeeper.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah? Thoughts? No, to be honest, man. If you liked it, you liked it. Be honest.
No, I did. I watched the whole thing.
Okay.
It was a quick one. It was one of those hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. It's Jason Statham being Jason Statham.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was.
All right. Yeah. The bees.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So you.
But I just don't I've seen it. Yeah.
But the reason I clicked on it is because I was like, okay, what's this all about with the bees?
Yeah. No, I couldn't stand it. Yeah. What is it all about with the bees? Literally, and spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen it, do yourselves a favor. You're not missing much. But basically, it's this government dude he was in the life and then he got out of it.
Yeah.
Now they keep pulling him back in, but it's compared to bees.
Their group is called the Beekeeper.
Yeah.
It's so funny since I've not met you, but really we started the show and the bee stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Bleak Bills probably doesn't even know about your bee stuff.
Yeah.
Depends who we have in that booth over there, if they know or not. Hamby now is heard.
Hamby's initiated.
But now, just so many times over the last 5 or 6 years, I feel like the bees are part of some storyline.
Sure.
And it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Just because of
they're that important.
Now,
not important in Jason Statham action movies, but they're important nonetheless.
But they're important also to just they're great storyline things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You could use the bee if you wanted to give a pep talk in any business.
Have they used the bee in Ted Lasso?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the underbelly of the Bees story seems to be out there more than ever before. And I know they had the Bee movie back then. But
classic. Jerry Seinfeld.
But yeah, I find myself attracted to the Bees story.
You should.
Yeah,
they're that important, bro.
They really are.
They're that important.
So who is that actor?
Jason Statham?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, dude's a legend. Like, I mean, I like him as an actor and everything. He's in, like, all the British action movies. He was in a bunch of Guy Ritchie movies when he was first coming up. I just didn't like the Beekeeper movie.
That's like that's a new one.
Huh. The Beekeeper?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it came out, like, what, last year?
Yeah, I guess it just
and
came
it
out.
did, I think, it did pretty well in the theaters, too. It wasn't for me. It wasn't me.
People love that action movie stuff, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just like,
the storyline is so simple.
I just felt like they're running out of like ideas, so they're like, "Hey, we got bees. Let's like somehow tie an action movie to bees, but it doesn't really tie it to bees at all. But we'll call it the Beekeeper and like something different." And there you go.
Yeah, is Statham related to Bruce Willis?
Probably not. Looks similar, bald dudes.
Like
Jason Statham was an Olympic diver, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Really?
I'm pretty sure he was in Olympics for diving.
He looks just like Bruce Willis.
He does. Yeah. Well, he's bald.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
But he's got a hat on in the movie.
Yeah, true.
Like most of the time.
Yeah. Was it a baseball? It was a baseball hat, right? Like a random.
It was almost like
generic
a mailman hat. Or
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I know. Like, you're stylish, but you don't want anybody to know who you are, and you live in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, you're but you're always swagging for some reason.
And it does. At least it modernized it with like a scam.
Sure. Yeah.
It did.
Well, yeah. I mean, once again, without spoiling it too much, but it's like. It's a take on technology and people trying to get your money and everything, and then Jason Statham's got to come in and get his pound of flesh and get some revenge on some people.
Actually, like the take about that setup that they had, like this, you know, where they were making all the calls to steal people's money.
Sure,
it's kind of how I visualize it.
How it actually works to old people. Yeah.
Well, or just in general, there's some like call center somewhere in.
Oh, no, I mean, listen,
country,
I get scammed all the time.
I know.
The difference between me and the person in the movie is I don't get scammed. Like,
yes.
If I don't recognize you and you're asking for money, guess what? Probably not going to give you the money.
You did just do that a couple of weeks ago.
I did.
Actually, entertained the phone
I entertained
call,
it.
Yeah. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, here on a Tuesday. It's a roster cut day. All right, so here's the deal. We're talking about Eric Armstead. And I don't know if you found the answer to what I was asking, but you know, the one thing – I don't want to get carried away with the Calais Campbell stuff, but I think it's similar in the sense that Calais came over here at like age 30.
Yep.
Same as Armstead's doing. And there are some similarities between their position versatility, some of their production. Their off-the-field stuff is fantastic. Like Armstead's a Walter Payton Man of the Year guy in San Francisco. So there's a lot there that can draw the comparison. The one thing that's not there is when Calais Campbell came over here, he had between, I think it was 6 and 9 sacks every year of his career.
Sure.
Every year.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was 5.5 to 9, but that's what it was. Mm-hmm. Not the case really with Armstead. 2, 2.5, 1.5, 3, and then he jumps to 10. And then most of the time since he's been healthy, 3.5, 6, he had 0 in 22, and then 5.
Mm-hmm. Wait, Eric Armstead had 0 sacks in 2022?
I know. Didn't you just tell me that he had 5.5?
Huh?
Maybe that was in 21?
Maybe. He played in 16 games that had any sacks?
He played in 9 games that year.
Okay. Gotcha.
So maybe one of the years was mixed up in terms of where you're going. But the bottom line, too, at least in Pro Football Reference, they list him as a defensive end for the first 7 years of his career, 6 years of his career. Then he started to split on that inside. I think that's what you were probably referencing, 2021.
Yeah, because it was a 2020, like after the season article.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then obviously 22, he gets hurt a little bit. And then last year he's got 12 games. He had 5 sacks in 12 games last year.
Take that.
So, but he's only played 21 games the last 2 years, and that's why people have a little bit of the injury concern. So he's got a high water mark of 10. And from there, he had to rush on the edge. It would seem like it says he did, but I don't think he was like moving around. I think he was an edge guy.
You're talking about this
in 2019, when he had 10 sacks.
Okay.
No?
Watch the highlights.
Oh, so he didn't.
He was all over the place.
He was all over.
Because because I was looking at their depth. Because I was wondering who some of the other players were. They got that rookie out of Stanford that year in 19. I'll look at it. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But he was all over the place.
Okay.
So he was defensive end a little bit because they had Bosa as well, and then he moved on the inside.
So obviously he can do both things. He's going to do both things here, it very much appears. with all that across the board of his sack totals in his career at 33.5 now, ranging from 1.5 when that was even a 6-game season. So, gosh, he's only had 4 seasons where he's played the whole thing.
Should we get the panic button back up? Or are we okay? Because you're...
And, 3, 10, 3.5, and 6 when he's played the whole year.
Sure.
And that was in his prime year. I mean, those were prime years, 25, 26, 27, 28 years old. Mm-hmm. Where do you put his over-under this year, sack-wise? Like, what does he have to do to say, okay...
So what he has to do, like what I want to see him do and what the numbers are going to say are two different things, Brent. Because I look at this team from last year, and one of the biggest needs is interior pass rush because it was non-existent. Like, you're lucky that you had 2 bona fide edge rushers who took the league by storm, but interior-wise, you didn't really see a lot. So, like, that's what I was expecting for Eric Armstead to come here and do is, all right, if you can get 5, 6, have 7 sacks from the inside, I'll take that. But now, whether it's he's on the outside, Trayvon's going on the inside, we'll see how it all shakes out. But I think a suitable number, if he has 7 sacks, something great's happening here in Jacksonville. I think if it's 6 sacks, I'll settle with that as well. But once again, this was predicated off my stuff of saying you're going to be playing on the inside, getting that interior pass rush.
Yeah. I think he's going to move around, which I don't know what the snap count's going to look like in terms of percentage. But I think what's positive about him is 3, 3.5, 6, and 10 is great. Even last year at age 30, 5 sacks in 12 games. That's a very good defense, but the Jags feel like they've got a very good defense. That should open some things up for Armstead. So if you project out, if he had played 17 games last year, he's probably getting somewhere around 8 sacks. Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to put it at like a 5.5 number. If it's 5, 6 sacks, like that would be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hoping that Trayvon and Josh Hines-Allen continue to do their thing at the rate they've been doing it. That's where I want to see this Jags defense go from those 2 guys leading the way, and then everybody else filling in somewhere between 3 and 6 sacks. If Roy Robertson-Harris has 3.5 sacks, great. Devon Hamilton chip in with just 1 or 2, that's great because you're not going to get much out of that. But then everybody else just fill in with 3, 4, 5, 6 would be, I think very good. So we'll see how it goes. Hey, there are a couple of big releases from Jags notoriety standpoint. Texans released C.J. Henderson. So he really he hadn't done anything. Mm-hmm. He really hasn't done anything. I mean, the Jags, we knew, whiffed on that pick. They traded him over to Carolina. He tried to kind of revive his career a little bit. I think it's been okay. Now ended up in Houston, but it really was never good. It was just a bad pick.
Do you think biggest Jags bust ever? Let it marinate. Let it breathe. Let's think about it.
I'm going to say probably not.
Okay.
But maybe.
Okay. Probably not, but maybe. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like guys that have been on this list before when we've done this in the past. I mean, from the Matt Joneses of the world to...
Yeah.
To be honest with you, both of those guys are candidates. Caleb Von Chason was pick number 20 in that draft. C.J. Henderson and Caleb Von Chason, 9 and 20.
But you almost see I err on the side. I lean towards Henderson just because he picked higher.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that was not good.
like Taven Bryan, you can say whatever, but like that dude was a late-round luxury pick, compared to...
I agree with that, that sentiment. I think that should be taken into consideration that far down. I mean, there are a lot of teams, even good teams, that don't draft the right guy at 28, and then there are some that do.
Correct. Yeah.
The other big release that caught my attention, I told you about this one in the break, is Allen Robinson. Mm-hmm. Robinson, what an man, I thought he was a good player here.
Oh, he was. He was a great player here. I think just injuries, I think when players get injured, like depending on serious injuries, and he's had a couple of them, yeah?
Yeah, well, he had a big one here in 17 that hurt, his stock, but then he got the big deal from Chicago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's been banged up along the way. I think the Chicago thing was more out of frustration. He had no quarterbacks. Like they had nothing going on offense, right? Mm-hmm. And then we thought kind of like the revival of his career would be in the Rams with Cooper Kupp and Stafford and McVay, and it really didn't. Like, it really didn't. I didn't even know he was with the Giants now, honestly. And, I mean, the Giants, they're not very deep at receiver.
Yeah, I can't name any of obviously neighbors.
Yeah.
But I don't know who the other guys are.
So, and now listen, Allen's a little bit older now.
Yeah.
But I guess my thought process, like, if Allen Robinson never left here, if he had signed on here, would he have been a bust of a sign, or would he have actually been good here?
I mean, it's so hard to tell, but like I don't think Robinson going to Chicago and then LA, like I don't like he played in some good offenses, like Chicago was whatever, but like he played in LA where it seems like whoever plays in LA at wide receiver can have some success. I just think that knee injury really hampered him. And I think every player can respond differently depending on how catastrophic it is. And I just think when he jacked up his knee, he was never the same player again.
Yeah, just before we take a timeout, I want to just see this. I want to see his stats. See if he ever popped again. Because, I mean, he had the unbelievable year for the Jags in 15, which was 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns.
Yeah.
1,414 touchdowns, which is great. Huh. And then the next year he was 73 for 883. So, I mean, he was tracking very nice. You know, he had 2 more 1,000-yard seasons. I did not realize that. He had a 100-catch season in Chicago for 1,250 and 6 touchdowns. Okay. 98, 1147, and 7 touchdowns. Well, it doesn't feel like he did anything in Chicago. Like, but he wasn't bad in Chicago. They were bad. Like, his quarterback situations were bad. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to, so his last year in Chicago, he only plays 12 games, 410 yards. Only played 10 games in L.A., only caught 33 passes. And then he was in, Pittsburgh. I forgot he had stopped in Pittsburgh. 34 for 280. But again, the quarterback, outside of the Rams, like that's why I thought he would have stuck, because the Chicago quarterbacks weren't great. You could argue the Jacksonville quarterback wasn't great, and then the Pittsburgh quarterback wasn't great. But Stafford was. And I just remember them adding him and thinking, this is going to be.
Of course, man. I mean, he was a fantasy darling that year when he went to L.A. Yeah.
And it didn't really matter. He's now 30 years old. Had a nice career, by the way, overall. But I would just say not as good as I expected. Mm-hmm. I thought when he was here, he had like Pro Bowls for many years written all over him. He obviously had the Pro Bowl year in 2015, but that was it. So Allen Robinson available. Jags aren't looking for receivers, so I don't think they'll need to consider that one. The one thing about A-Rob, and we brought this up in the past, you bring up injuries, and I think that's probably right. I bring up quarterbacks in situations. I don't think they were the perfect ones for him. But I also think the league has gotten so fast that I've always wondered about this for A-Rob. He was not a fast guy. He wasn't slow. Yeah. But he played faster than even like his 40 time would indicate. Mm-hmm. And I remember Jerry Sullivan saying that. But the league just keeps getting faster and faster and faster. And I wonder, when you're not that fast guy, if you start, like, who right now can still be a quality receiver and not be fast? Not run like a 4.4. Okay, so he's not a 4.4 guy.
Puka?
Is he like 4.5 guy?
There's no way Puka ran a 4.4.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but like if you watch him, like he's not the fastest dude, but he can lower his shoulder and truck some
physical
people.
Guy.
So I'd say Puka.
And A-Rob was physical. Like, so you had that part of the game.
Yeah.
I remember actually Sullivan when they drafted him and everybody was asking about his speed.
Yeah.
And he brought up, I knew I wasn't going to get this guy's name. Who's the Ravens physical receiver?
Anquan Boldin?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Gotcha, man.
Good
You're
work.
Good.
Good work. Very good.
I got you, man. I got you.
That was good, yeah. But Boldin, and listen, he wasn't saying he was Boldin. He was just saying Boldin was a guy that ran slow, I think, at the combine. Yeah. His game tape looked faster, and Boldin had a hell of a career. And then A-Rod starts doing what he's doing, and you start like, hey, Jerry was right. Like, look at this.
I know, like, he's kind of on the back nine of his career now, but I think another example would be DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I don't think DeAndre Hopkins had a good combine or like a good 40-yard dash.
Really?
I looked at. Let me look up Puka and DeAndre since we're out there.
While you're there, I'm going to just jump in. You had asked like biggest bust, right?
Puka ran a 4.57, by the way.
Yeah, that's slow.
Yeah,
that's slow.
Well, I mean that was his knockout of college. Like that's why teams.
That's why I went to the fifth round, probably, right? Listen, I think it's hard to play that position in this league without running 4.4 now. Because you got defensive backs that are all doing it. Heck, Trayvon Walker runs a 4.5.
Yeah.
Like, Trayvon Walker runs faster than Puka.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That is insane.
That's insane, actually. Saying it out loud is even more insane.
DeAndre Hopkins ran a 4.57.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so those guys, yeah, again, I do think there's something to the game speed as well, but I just don't think you're going to get a lot of guys clock speed-wise getting too many opportunities if you're in the 4.5s anymore.
For sure.
Now, if you had built your resume already, that's one thing, but getting into the league, so that does make Puka definitely a little bit of a unicorn in that sense. Maybe there's more than I know, but I just don't think you're getting a lot of 4 or 5 guys drafted and on.
Devonta Adams ran a 4.56.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that?
Mike Evans ran a 4.53.
Again, see, those are all older guys, though, that have built a resume.
Antonio Brown ran a 4.56.
Oh, is that why? He was a late pick, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was a super late pick.
Yeah. That's probably why.
Des Bryant ran a 4.
And he's a little guy.
Yeah.
So see, back in that's how much that's changed, Austin.
We may need to start going after guys who run slower 40 times, because I said Puka ran a 4.5 what?
7.
Cooper Kupp ran a 4.62. And you talk about, when healthy, maybe a solid 1A, 1B in the entire NFL.
But you remember, especially when Puka was drafted, remember McVay had to go to bat for him?
Sure.
Because of that, right? Because of that speed. Like, the front office guys they were like, oh, no, he's too slow.
Yeah, I hear you. But, any team right now would take Puka or Cooper Kupp.
But I think you just gave us an interesting exercise. I think this is like a last 5-6 year thing.
Okay.
I think that's where it's really changed. I think all those guys you mentioned had built careers already, and by the way, then showcase that they can play. I'm not telling you can't play the position if you don't run a 4.4. I'm just saying I think the speed matters so much, and you can't run away from anybody. Then you better be like A+ in other areas.
Oh, yeah,
like
be a route
show
runner.
that he can be physical, or you can be a super big route runner, or Hopkins' hands are amazing. His wingspan is like nuts, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to have some of those qualities to be able to still make it today. And this is a recent trend. Again, you're getting guys in the corners, secondaries, safeties, linebackers that are running just as fast as some of these wide receivers were running back 8-9 years ago when they came out. Like, that's how much speed has changed, in my opinion, in the NFL. CJ Henderson, you were asking about that biggest bust. Some people say Blackman. The thing about Blackman is he actually produced for the Jags before being the bust. Like, Henderson didn't do a thing.
Sure, but you have to look at it in totality. Like, how long was Blackman here? How long did he last in the league? And it wasn't a long time.
For a little bit of time, Blackman gave us some of the best memories we had for like a 3 or 4 year period.
It was crazy to watch, man. That dude was super talented.
So much talent. The Jags have had a lot of these candidates now. Henderson, obviously, Chason. You say Blackman, we go all the way back to Matt Jones. I think Reggie Williams falls in this. So Reggie had some numbers as well, but it was kind of a miss. Taven Bryan, you mentioned. That's the difference between right now and then. Yeah. The Jags have finally started to hit on some of these guys and kept their talent. The Jags had very little opportunity to do that for a decade plus.
So I have 2 more players that ran pretty slow 40 times. Brandon Ayuk ran a 4.5. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, and this is why he fell in the draft, it says, ran a 4.61.
Woof.
But just got paid like he's one of the. He is one of the best receivers.
Maybe I'm wrong. See, maybe that's a bad way to say Allen Robinson kind of fell off a bit because of the speed. See, I kind of wondered if that was a bit of injuries. We said quarterbacks, but I have wondered over the last couple of years if that's part of the reason he declined, because he wasn't a fast guy. This would indicate, no, you can still be a very productive player, not being a fast guy.
But listen, I'm no receiver expert, but to me, it always seemed like Robinson specialized in the jump ball, the 50-50.
He did. At least here he did.
Yeah, here he did. Now maybe other places it was different, but I look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, ran a 4.61. I don't see him being a Jamar Chase and burning people over the top or Tyreek Hill, but in terms of route running, he's super dependable.
Yeah.
But I think once again, Puka or Cooper Kupp, we don't really see them taking the top off and having 80, 90-yard touchdowns, but we do see them running slants, running proper routes and everything. It just depends what you're looking for. This is why Justin Jefferson gets so much money, because the guy can really do it all. right? I think CeeDee Lamb can kind of do it all. Tyreek Hill obviously can do it all. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Amon-Ra, that Puka, that DeAndre Hopkins at his stage in career, they can do it all, but they're dependable, and when you need a first down, they can give you that.
Well, and one thing to keep in mind about just even the guy that Jags have, like in that Amon-Ra St. Brown spot, like Christian Kirk, he's a 4-4 guy. Like, he's fast. I think he showed that against New Orleans. I don't think we look at Kirk and be like, oh, that guy's like a blazer, right? He's fast. Well, he showed it against New Orleans. He hit the Jets on that thing. He said it was the fastest he's ever run, or he felt like it was the fastest he's ever run. So, it's pretty interesting. Look at Puka's GPS time during route running. He was fastest at the combine. Interesting. Again, most people say clock speed on a 40 compared to game speed also can be a different thing.
Correct.
And these guys obviously have to play fast, but they play fast in different ways. One, because of their exquisite route running maybe, or just the nuanced stuff, their smarts, their IQ. I'm a big believer in that. See, that's where I think even Kirk and players like that excel. When you know where to go, know where to be, you play faster, even by a step, because you're so intelligent. Or instinctually really good. That's especially big on the defensive side of the ball, I think. That's why some linebackers play really well. Maybe corner safeties, the same thing. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. You mentioned CeeDee Lamb. How is that the domino now? Is we now have a new rate for the receiver? Does that mean Jamar
Chase is looking like
Brandon Ayuk? Or is it more problematic for a guy like Jamar Chase and Brandon Ayuk? The quarterback stuff, we saw a guy get signed, and like 4 hours later, the next guy got signed. Haven't seen that yet. But will we see it today or tomorrow on the receiver front? That's when we come back. The Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jag Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Maybe you need a new tankless water heater or something a bit more intricate. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Right now, get 10% off any residential job of $500 or more. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
at Southampton. Local golfers have no shortage of options when it comes to picking a course to play here in Northeast Florida year-round. Yet time and time again, I find myself here at the Golf Club at Southampton. Easy to get to off 210 in St. Johns County. It's family-owned and operated and renowned for being one of the area's most player-friendly. That's just one of the reasons we hold the Action Sports Jacks Dream 18 charity golf tournament here each fall. The Mark McCumber design layout is great for all skill levels of golfers, from the guys who bomb it a mile on the range to golfers like me who are just happy to put it in the fairway, which Southampton has very accommodating fairways. And if you need new clubs, come down to the pro shop. They'll fit you up and get you a nice new set like they did for me. For more information on membership or to book a tee time and see for yourself, head over to golfsouthampton.com or call the clubhouse at 904-287-7529. The Golf Club at Southampton. It's the official home of the Action Sports Jacks Dream 18. Make it your home for golf too.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Well, we'll welcome you back here to the Brent and Austen Show. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Bleak Bill's here with us. Rob, good to have him on this Tuesday. Hamby back tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and then he'll be in and out. He's got some news duties to do in the month of September. He's going to start actually on Friday, a little college football show at 9 a.m., we've got some more shows in the works. Friday, we begin our expanded high school football coverage at 8 o'clock. We can't wait for that. It's going to be pretty cool. 8 until midnight, by the way. We'll show you live action through at least 5 different games from 8 until whenever they finish. We'll have highlights from earlier games that we already went to. And then, of course, we roll right into our Friday Night Blitz. Kevin Sullivan will join us, Stuart Weber along, the entire Action Sports Jacks team, and hopefully you as well. Plus, we've got a little band segment in there. So Austin Lane will be watching.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Saxophone players.
Band segment?
Yeah, so we'll go like 11. So what happens is the way we figure this thing out, we go 8 to like 10:30 with our what we call the zone blitz. But the game's most likely will be all over by like 10. Mm-hmm. So we'll have coaches call in and a kind of a scoreboard show type thing. We used to even do that over on ESPN 690. And then at 10:30, we'll have the Blitz, which is our TV edition, but will also run right here on the network, which you can find on actionnewsjacks.com and the Action News Jacks app, so you can find it wherever you want. Another nice thing about this is that you don't have to be in Jacksonville, so moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas are on the road, they're out of town, aunts, uncles, all the rest. You can see your kid playing ball. But we also do another Friday Night Blitz 11:15 on TV. Mm-hmm. So 11:15, there's a gap. We're going to fill that gap with bands from the different high schools.
I like it, man. So when we say like the bands, like, is it in the stands?
Yeah.
Or like the marching? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean,
well, I don't know if like at halftime.
It'll be a little bit of a compilation of
I like it, man.
In the stands, also hopefully some like a halftime performance.
Right
and
on.
The other thing is if you hear of any of these, I'd like to know because we wouldn't mind coming out if it fits, if we can get there to a pep rally of sorts at a school. So I know a lot of the schools do that different weeks, not every week. And maybe we'll put that up during that stretch. So we're pretty excited about it. And then we'll have a little overtime session. We'll analyze the night from 11:35 to midnight. So 8 until midnight, all on the network. This is the place you're going to want to watch it. You can watch the Blitz still on Fox 30 at 10:30, 11:15 on CBS 47 and Fox 30. But that's just 45 minutes of high school content. We've got 4 hours right here on the network, streaming, all the social media, and on actionnewsjacks.com. And the Action News Jacks app. So we're getting ready for that on Friday. Hope Hope it's as fun as I'm claiming it's going to be.
I like it, man.
We'll see. That will be up to us. The CeeDee Lamb is having some fun. Maybe he can sponsor that show with some dollars.
He can afford it.
$136 million.
Buy the whole network.
Like last week, they said he had got a $133 million offer. This lands at $136. I mean, that's how close they were, apparently. This is not surprising to me. I think you asked this question, like, which one's going to get signed? And the funny thing is, I had this goofy reason for leaning towards CeeDee Lamb. Okay. And that's just because Jerry Jones had come out publicly and said something like stupid. And every time he does that, it looks like it's going to hell, like this whole deal, and everybody panics. The deal gets done like a week later. I mean, this is like the third time this has happened.
Well, and I wonder...
Dak's hoping he says something about him soon.
Yeah, and I wonder what kind of precedent it sets for wide receivers. Like, do you get the feeling that, like, all these wide receivers kind of get together and kind of map this out a little bit?
I don't know about the wide receivers, but their agents do.
Well, yeah, because I felt like with the running backs, like you never see this from running backs. Like, they don't ever hold strong.
Yeah, it's almost like they should have their own union.
Saquon Barkley, set a precedent where it's like, I'm not going to play, and I can play. Oh, you're offering me this? I guess I'll play.
Yeah.
And the whole thing kind of fell down like a house of cards. With CeeDee Lamb, it's interesting because this guy wasn't in contact at all with his team. Like at least with Jamar Chase, like even though Jamar Chase hasn't practiced at all, and same thing with CeeDee Lamb, like Jamar Chase has talked to ownership, he's talked to the GM. If guys have questions from camp, like they can reach out to Jamar Chase and help him out. So like he's still been very active with the team without him actually being there and practicing. CeeDee Lamb was just all radio silence.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying there's a better way to do things. I mean, do you just go radio silent, or do you actually still stay in contact with the team? But props to CeeDee Lamb, 4 years, $136 million, and $38 million signing bonus, which is never a bad thing to shake off. Second highest paid wide receiver now behind Justin Jefferson.
You got some kahunas, by the way. I think I understand they have all the leverage and they're going to get paid by somebody, but he is still something. Like mom or dad or sister or whatever call and be like, hey, bro, did you just get offered $133 million and you didn't take it? Like,
yeah.
Like, what if they don't give it to you again? Like, there's those conversations, right? Like, what if they don't give it to you?
Maybe. No, for sure. Like, what are you doing?
What about those 48 hours where it's like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I hear you. And, like, was the $3 million difference that I mean, whatever, But we all know this. If they wouldn't have paid CeeDee Lamb and he would have called their bluff and not have played in the season, they're not even close to going to the Super Bowl. Like, it's simple. And, like, that's basic economics. And Jerry Jones understands that. Like, you can say whatever you want to say on a podcast or a radio station or a call-in show, whatever you were doing. And you can say, he's not here, that's fine. We have other guys who want to step up. Jerry, we're not stupid. Don't insult our intelligence.
Yeah.
He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And if you want to have success, and if you want to win a division, and if you want to go to a Super Bowl, you need CeeDee Lamb on your team.
Is he the best
wide receiver?
Yeah.
In the league?
Yeah.
Top three, but I can't say the best.
Yeah, because, I mean, when you get to the top three, right, you can pick your guy, I'll pick my guy, and you'll go to battle with him. That's because you're going to say Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb.
Correct.
He's in that conversation?
Correct.
I think most people say Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, one or two.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb's three, but
yeah.
I mean, he might be more dangerous than both of them, the way he operates out of the slot.
True. No, I mean, you can't go wrong with any three of them. I like Tyreek Hill just because of the big playability. Yeah. Like, it's just we don't see that. I think Jefferson a little more in terms of can give you, like, to me, CeeDee Lamb, like, yeah, he can be a burner and everything, but I still lean towards Jefferson. So if you're going to rank him, honestly, if I want the complete wide receiver, I'll go Jefferson number one. Then I go Tyreek Hill because we haven't seen that, stuff like that. And then I'll go CeeDee Lamb.
Does anybody, I mean, to be honest with you, from a body type standpoint, like, I actually like Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more than CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson because he can do all of it and beat you physically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jefferson's not going to beat you physically. No, he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
And CeeDee Lamb can actually be a little bit more physical probably than people give him credit for. But Chase is like, he just looks bigger than everybody else to me.
Yeah, and it's wild. So if you compare the numbers from CeeDee Lamb to Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb has played in 66 games. Jamar Chase has played in 45 games. Obviously, a lot more receptions and receiving yards for CeeDee Lamb. But if you want to compare touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, CeeDee Lamb has 32. Jamar Chase has 29.
And far less games.
I mean,
20 less games.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yes.
So I'm just going to look. I was like, okay, let me find a list. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. That's who out of this next 5 might sneak into the top 3? And here's the reason why you could sneak in the top 3
in terms
or
of
4.
Money or talent?
Not talent. Like
okay.
Like at the end of this year, if you're picking fantasy, like, hey, this guy's going to be better than all 4 of those guys this year.
Okay.
All right. And who has the best chance to do it? I'll give it to you in a second. And the reason why, like, the one thing about all this is Jamar Chase is young. CeeDee Lamb's young. And obviously Jefferson's young. Tyreek Hill, I think it's fair to wonder, and I think somebody said this, maybe it was Kyle Brandt or somebody the last couple of days, said he might have like 1 or 2 more really good years. And I don't think that's knocking him. I think that's just reality. I mean, at his age, he is getting up there. And they probably hope he gets 2 more years out of him, and then they'll let him go and see what happens. But in this list, who has the best chance to crack the top 4? A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams, Brandon Ayuk, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson.
I mean, top 4. Like, well, Diggs. I feel like if Diggs is in the conversation after Buffalo, he won't be in the conversation in Houston.
Yeah.
Because there's too many other.
Agreed. Plus, he's getting older.
I think Wilson. It's all about the quarterback for Wilson. Like, I think Wilson has all the talent in the world, and look at his numbers from even quarterbacks that weren't really that great of what he's put up. I think Wilson has a chance if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy.
I would agree. I thought Wilson out of that list. Like, I didn't even know who was on the list. I was just reading. But now A.J. Brown's very good.
Great. Yeah.
I mean, they got him in the top 5, so he is very good.
Yeah.
But I actually think Wilson, too. I think Wilson, you wonder, now that with the quarterback stuff settled out, can Rodgers make him better? Long term, I don't know, because I don't know what their answer is at quarterback long term. You know the guy that's actually fallen off, that people want to still throw him on, and I know he's dangerous, but Deebo Samuel's the guy that, first of all, he doesn't want to run it as much as they want him to run it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, last year he had 892 yards and 7 touchdowns. Like, that is a very pedestrian number for a receiver these days. That's not elite receiver. I don't know how many games he played because he probably missed a couple. But just interesting to see. Now, here's another deal. Does one of those Houston receivers step into that category? Is it a Nico Collins? Is it a Tank Dell? Are they that good?
I mean,
they become top 6, 7 receiver in the league?
They very well could be, but once again, they're just so deep. I don't know. If one person sets himself apart, it's going to be Nico Collins.
Yeah.
He's going to set himself apart.
Yeah.
Could he be a top 5, top 6? To me, you have to have the touchdowns, you have to have the you have to have everything. And I'm not sure if in that offense, if it's feasible for just one wide receiver to stick out so much more than the others. But I guess it can happen if you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Like Jamar Chase stuck out.
Do you think, based on what you've seen, very small sample, I get it, but entertain the conversation, Brian Thomas Jr. has a chance to get on the hype train that these guys have? I mean, they're putting Collins in after 1 year into the top 20. This is, by the way. You take where Waddle and McLaurin have been in the top 15. Puka Nacua is a 12 receiver here in this list.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, of course. I'm trying to think of another young guy because some of these guys are older guys now. And then obviously, I'm not going to say Jamar, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, but can he get in the top 15 like right off the rip?
He could, but keep in mind, we talk about Jefferson, you talk about Chase and Diggs and all of these. Well, Diggs is different because he was started off from Minnesota, but you talk about these young, great receivers, they had to be the guys day one.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr., he's probably going to be your one receiver and everything, but you don't need him to be said guy. You have Christian Kirk, you have Gabe Davis, you have Evan Ingram, you have Travis Etienne in the pass game. So I'm not sitting here saying Brian Thomas Jr. can't be a top 15 guy, but like I'm not expecting him to be because you have so many other options. Like when Jamar Chase went to Cincinnati, hey Jamar, you have to catch 90 receptions because you have to be the guy.
That's funny. That was the one I was going to say. Did he have to though? Because I mean they had Higgins and also Boyd.
But I think where they drafted him when they could have got Penei Sewell and take care of Joe Burrow, like if you're going to invest that much and put your quarterback at risk, you better be getting your receptions.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, Joe Burrow wanted him.
Yeah, no, I get it. I understand what you're saying. But let me just go back to his rookie. Well, his rookie year was unbelievable. 81 catches, 1455, and
Penei who?
touchdowns.
Yeah. Penei who?
Let me not go back to that rookie year. That's unfair.
That's probably one of the best rookie years of.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Yeah.
But I'll go to year 2.
Okay.
I think that's a better. Year 2 was, now he only played 12 games, so this isn't going to work very well with him.
He's a good wide receiver, but
87, 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Last year, actually, was 16-game season, 100 catches, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Overall, it was his worst year. Mm-hmm. But they still have a ton of weapons. That's the point.
They didn't have Burrow throwing the ball either.
Well, there's a little bit of that. Yeah. Now, Browning looked pretty good in spots
yeah.
doing it, but yeah, I don't. Let me just do this exercise one more because CeeDee Lamb's another guy that he didn't have to do. They have a bunch of people. Like he didn't have to be great right away for them, and look what he's turned into. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had to be good, but he didn't have to be great. I mean, he's 1,750 yards last year.
Yeah,
I mean that's totally different. Okay, so here's his rookie year: 74, 935, and 5.
Okay,
Brian Thomas can do that.
Absolutely.
It's kind of what you hope he does do, actually. That'd be like perfect.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
His next year was 79, 1102, and 6. Mm-hmm. And then it took off. It's 107, 1359, and 9. And then last year, 135. 135 passes.
Yeah.
1749 and 12. So that's actually, isn't CeeDee Lamb a nice pace for Brian Thomas?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you think that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be the reception hog, yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm not even, you don't have to go this top level stuff to me. Like 135, 1750 is gross. Like that's,
yeah.
I'm not going to ever put that on a guy. I'm just saying that progression is nice where you were 935 and in the 70s, but you still caught a handful of touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And then you were approaching 80 and you got over 1,000 yards and you still caught a half a dozen touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And then you got to the century mark because in year 3, by that time, Evan Ingram's gone. Christian Kirk's gone, right? Now you've got to take over more of that stuff. I'm not wishing them gone, by the way. I'm just hypothetically speaking. And he's got 9 touchdowns, so he elevates it even more. Mm-hmm. And then you pay him. Although CeeDee Lamb didn't get paid after year 3. Obviously, it took until this year to get paid.
Do you think Chase makes more than Lamb now?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't see Ayuk, obviously. And also, do you think it's kind of smart on Ayuk to kind of wait to see how this played out?
Well, it is, but I don't know. See, I don't know in the Ayuk deal this helps either side.
Okay.
I think that number's they're young. They're a good amount younger, not a lot younger, but a good amount younger than Ayuk. He's in a different situation. I think this might even make it harder now for San Fran to keep him. To me, this sends him out the door probably faster than it was a week ago or a couple of days ago. Yeah, I would say Jamar Chase actually should get more based on his first 3-year numbers. Yeah. He's projecting better than actually CeeDee Lamb. Mm-hmm. So, the crazy thing about CeeDee Lamb, I think he was picked 17th or 19th in that draft. This one doesn't say it, but I thought the Jags were going to maybe take him.
I know. I remember when we did our Golick and Wingo thing, it was Golick Wingo.
That's what we were on.
Yeah, we were on. I wanted to.
They picked. I know in the mock draft thing they picked right before
because it's Chase on, right? They got Chase on.
That was Chase on. But I think Dallas either picked 17th or 19th that year. I don't know which one. The question is, would they have gone and got CeeDee Lamb? See, I still think no.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
I still think no because I think they were trying to replace Jan and Jalen.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The last thing on your mind, I felt like at that year was a wide receiver. Unfortunately,
thank goodness Dallas picked him because that would look even a whole lot worse than it already does.
Yeah.
Let's take a time out. We'll come back. One note on this cap casualty day, or at least roster cut down day. 3 former Jags in the last little bit. We mentioned Allen Robinson. We had mentioned C.J. Henderson. And James Robinson was just let go, too, this morning. Man. So that's another. Those are fascinating careers. Really, C.J. Henderson's not. Allen Robinson and James Robinson, fascinating careers to me. Once the Jags actually got maybe the best stuff out of them.
Yeah.
You don't say that very often in Jacksonville.
No, you don't. And it's wild because I think James Robinson, you expected when he first burst on the scene that he was going to be here maybe for a while and have a lot of success. Then once again, injuries.
I don't know if the league hosed James Robinson on all this or if just the running back, he might be just this perfect example of the running back position.
Yeah.
But I hated it for James Robinson. I've said it a million times. I won't do it again. I just feel like that's a guy that should have been rewarded more financially for what he did.
Of course.
And and that was his window to do it. Mm-hmm. Oh, Trey Herndon also cut. I don't see the Jags bringing him back. There's a look at Everbank Stadium. September 15th, the Jags will be inside that place against the Cleveland Browns. And then the September 16th, we'll have our Dream 18 golf tournament. We'll talk all about the win. So if you haven't registered yet, we're working a lot on the Dream 18. Inside 3 weeks to go. Get after it. Action Sports Jacks at dream18.com. There it is. See you at Southampton on the 16th. But you got to register. Get your foursome going. Action Sports Jacks, dream18.com. Enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV, or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jacks team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot, any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is